Well, hello, everybody. Good evening, good afternoon, whatever it is, where you're at listening to Teague's Take Podcast. We're on again live on YouTube and Facebook, or if you listen to the show via your app. Thank you guys for subscribing and listening to this episode of Teague's Take. Man, we got a great one today. A lot of great things that we got to talk about. We got a very special guest on today, too. And I have to tell you, we're still growing. We're building. We're changing, and we're listening to everything that our viewers and our listeners are telling to us about what they like and don't like about the podcast. So we will be making some more additional changes. So I'm asking you guys to make sure that you guys tune in to the next few episodes because it will look a little bit different, feel a little bit different again. We heard a lot of talk about wanting to have the interaction with the fans. Where we were there when we first started, then we kind of went away from it. Now we're going to be coming back to it. So we're going to have a good mixture of these great graphics and things of that nature, but we want to get back to where we can have big time fan interaction through this on the live show. So make sure that you guys tune in to Teague's Take. Find us on Twitter and Instagram and even on Facebook. So that you can get all the alerts for that. So tonight, like I said, we got a very special guest. Gus Frerotte is going to be on with us in a little while. I actually got a chance to play against him as well. He's a Pro Bowler. He does his own show. We'll get into that a little bit more with him. And, of course, JT and I will be commentating through this. So we got a few things that we got to hit on. We got to hit on the college football playoff expansion, the NCAA, getting smacked by the Supreme Court, and first gay NFL player is out there. So I know you guys are very interested in hearing my take on all of these, but you're going to hear from all of us about it because Gus is going to stay on with us as well. So remember, this is non-scripted. We don't have others planned. We just like this talk. It's table talk, right? So let's go ahead and get after it with my run out. College football playoff expansion, or the proposed one anyway. Man, I'm really fired up about this one. JT and I have talked about it many times. We've had other guests that have come on here and talked about it with us. But you know what? My take is that as much as people want to talk about this is going to be better for football, this is going to really solidify or make the playoffs really mean something. You're going to get from 4 teams to 12 teams. They're trying to make it all about making it better for the NCAA or for other teams. And there may be some truth to that. But that ain't what I really think about it. This is all about money, money, money. Not necessarily money for the players, but money for those schools. There are some big dollars flying around out there to add these games. So as much as we're talking about, hey, this is going to be good for football, sure it will, because there's going to be some other schools that cash in on some serious dollars, $9, $10, $11, $12 million to add these games. And I'll tell you what, JT's going to be talking about the Supreme Court stuff a little bit later and paying these players and all this kind of stuff. Man, I really want to know how this is going to equate to some of this stuff because you're adding games, right? Everybody knows that Alabama's still going to win the national championship anyway, so you can put 12 teams, 24 teams, 36 teams. It don't matter, But we got to make sure that we're taking care of these guys, man. They're young. We already have guys opting out, whether it was for COVID and now it's just because they don't want to get hurt. They want to try to get in the draft and be ready to go. And you start adding these games, what is that going to look like? Is it really worth it to go to that? Is it so much of a fan appeal that we got to add these games for these young athletes? Or is it truly, like I just said, just trying to line the pockets of those universities a little bit more and increase this debate that we're going to have after the first break about paying these players? So I kind of want to hear what these guys have to say. I think it's just all a money play, and I don't know it's necessarily good for the players, right? So let's bring JT in and Gus. Let's go ahead and bring Gus in. He is the star. Man, you know what? Like I said, Gus, thank you so much for even accepting my invitation. We hadn't talked in a long time, and we ran into each other on Twitter. as a matter of fact. So you guys make sure that you hit him up on Twitter at Gus Frerotte. I think his handle's the same on Instagram as well. He got me blocked. He won't let me message him on on Instagram, so hopefully I'll get access to that.
No, I don't. I don't even know what I'm doing on there, George. What are you talking about? How can I block you?
Well, hey, I did try to hit you up on that. That's for real. So, what do you think I went wrong, man? Am I okay with this? How do you feel about this expansion, Gus, before we get in?
Well, I think a couple things. First, you were an Alabama guy, so it doesn't matter how many teams, like you said, are going to be in there. You always feel like Alabama's going to win it all anyway. So I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like in between on it, right? Because I'm not a fan of all the bowl games.
Okay.
There's just one bowl game after another, and they're not even, it's like you don't even know the names of these companies that are putting these bowl games out. For me personally, I would rather watch like the playoffs than to go watch like two teams play in the New York Pinstripe Bowl or something. That's me personally. I would rather see, we know probably who's going to win the national championship at that point, what teams are good and are stacked. But I would rather watch some kids come out and make incredible plays to try and get to the next game. Whereas I feel like what you said about kids not opting out and not playing, I feel like that happens more in bowl games, right? If they actually had the chance to win a championship, they might stay and play.
Okay, I'm gonna go with that, and I'm gonna toss this over to JT a little bit too, and I'm gonna hit on your alma mater a little bit because Gus did play at Tulsa, and let's say for some reason Tulsa is one of those at-large teams coming in, and they run into Ohio State
last year.
Yeah, so JT and I talk about this all the time. But what do you think about this expansion?
So I think it's a bit overdue. I think I'm with Gus. I think there are too many bowl games. I wrote an article on it a long time ago. There's so many bowl games that you can actually have a losing record and still go to a bowl game. You just have to be not even above 500, right? More than half the teams make a bowl game as it stands. Mm-hmm. And right now we've had the college football playoff for 6 seasons since 2014. Mm-hmm. And there's only been 11 teams that have ever graced the appearance, which I think for the sport needs to change. If you want opt-outs to be less, then you have to give more meaningful games. I think that you can also have a playoff system and have a full season. Maybe you reduce the season just a little bit. Like I said, the FCS has figured this out with like 30-something teams.
It ain't the same kind of money, though, peoples. It ain't the same kind of money.
Not, but is that a bad thing?
No.
What about March Madness? That's way more money.
Okay, but the disparity on the teams potentially at 12 to 1, does it become? It's kind of like us in our playoff games, coaching in high school. That first round is kind of just,
Sure, but so was the first round of the basketball tournament, 1 versus 16, until Virginia decides to lose, and then
we're just gonna be betting cigars.
What about this, George? What about if we do get more teams, then the better players that are coming out of high school and going to college will go to more universities than just the top 5, right? Because they know that they actually have a chance to go and play in the playoffs. It might take a few years to get to that point, but I think if we can do that, then Alabama might not suck up every guy that's going to be a first rounder, going into college, right? So I think that that gives an opportunity for more schools to recruit better athletes. And then in the long run, it might be a better way to have a playoff.
Okay. I think that there's some validity to that, but still, is it going to be still more of Power 5 schools and not necessarily the other teams that they're trying to get in?
I mean, it's still going to be filled with more Power 5 schools than Group of 5 schools.
So what are we really getting at then? Because you're really trying to get Cincinnati in or UCF or
Well, no.
Boise State or
Cincinnati is
whoever.
trying to get in. Everybody else, I mean, it's a well-known fact. Everybody else is not trying to let Cincinnati in or Tulsa in or
Right.
Boise
But
State.
you're trying to get Arkansas in or Texas Tech or, like some of the big schools that lose recruits out of their area because they know that they're really good. And, if I'm going to go play somewhere, I'm going to go to Alabama or Ohio State or a top school. You know what I mean? I might not necessarily want to stay around where I am. But I think that, if you can say that my school's my local area is going to be really good, then I might want to stay there, and then we might build the program up that way.
So with the bye, right? Because they were saying it would have a bye for the first or top 4 teams, not necessarily ranked by 1, 2, and 3, and 4 in the AP poll or whichever poll. I guess it would be
the committee.
the committee that would still have to pick that. I still see that it's going to be still so subjective. We're going to be watching this pregame show. And then team 13, 14, 15, 16
Well, but
are going to be upset because they didn't get in.
Yeah, but see, this is what my argument has been the whole time. It doesn't have to be subjective. They're making it subjective, but it doesn't have to be. Win your conference, you're in. There's 10 conferences. That's it.
Makes it easy.
That's it.
You know what,
And then
George?
conference
I'd still
championships
rather
matter.
watch that
People
than
aren't
sit
gonna
down and
travel.
watch baseball.
Huh? You'd rather watch baseball?
No, I said I'd still rather watch 12 teams that I don't even know play football than go watch a baseball game.
All right. And I don't know. I didn't pay attention to see how long the season was going to be. Maybe they hadn't even got to that point in negotiations.
Probably not.
What will it do, really? I mean, is it going to push it until March?
No.
Because national championship is.
They can't do that because then you cut into basketball money.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to make certain bowl games part of the championship then.
And they will.
Who are they really trying to get in? This for Notre Dame?
No,
This
because
for-
Notre Dame has been in.
Who is this?
This will be for Florida. It'll be for Texas. It'll be for Michigan. It'll be for Penn State. It'll be for name a Pac-12 team because there's only been one that's ever. I guess Oregon's been twice now, but it's been a while.
Is it still going to be heavy SEC? Are they still going to mess up everybody? Because, like you said, you're going to get Florida. Then Texas A&M is going to jump in. Well, I don't know if LSU is ever going to make it back.
Yeah, well, not at the rate they're going.
But is it still going to be a way for the SEC to get more teams in and really make everybody mad?
It might be.
Well, I mean, you do know why they're expanding this, right?
Do tell.
You say money, I say Nick Saban. You notice that this whole thing started as soon as Nick Saban signed that contract through 2028, and they were like, "Oh no, we got to add some more teams in here because we can't just have we can't have Saban taking up one spot for the next 10 years." That
You think the GOAT got that much power?
oh
man?
yeah,
Just to
as
say
soon as he
that-
signed that contract, they was like, "Oh yeah, we got to expand. This ain't gonna work no more."
Oh man, I don't know. And I haven't studied enough to everybody, but I really like. I know JT can run some kind of simulator with all his with your stuff and really look like what would 5 through 12 really look like over the past couple of years if they kind of used this
It would be interesting.
formula to see who.
But I mean, it really wouldn't have been that bad. I mean, this past year, right? Florida would have got in. Texas A&M would have got in for sure. Did Oklahoma get in? No, Oklahoma was out. So Oklahoma would have got in. The Oregon probably would have got in because they at least won their conference.
Somebody else from Big Ten probably would have got in.
Yeah,
Nebraska?
who? Maybe. I don't know.
Nebraska.
Nebraska?
Not Nebraska. But, we all look forward to that Cinderella story, too. That one team that has the big win that it comes from behind or makes the couple plays or runs back a fumble or an interception for a touchdown and comes up with upset. And we all love those kind of stories. And I think that part of that is missing a little bit in college.
Yes, I agree with that. I think that will make it fun. That if someone could pull off a big
As long as it's not against Alabama, right?
Yeah, well, no, a five. That's the bet though, right? The 5-12 bet, is that the normal?
Yeah, and in basketball.
Yeah, so that might be what it is. Once we get into college football.
Well, think about what's growing in our country. It's, sports betting.
Oh,
Everybody
yes.
has an app on their phone now. I mean, that's just another way for colleges, universities, and people to make a lot of money off betting.
Well, make sure that the first time you guys see that they're going to put those automatic betting machines in the stadium, because I think they're going to be in the seats, backs, at some point in time.
Those like guess the play things.
Yes, is it going to go right? Is it going to go left? I mean, people are going to be spending a boatload of money at the game on betting. I think it's going to happen.
I'd do it if I win some nachos or something.
I don't know how much those nachos cost you, but Jerry Jones, he charged about $18 for some nachos.
They're way too expensive, right?
$12 for popcorn, $16 for a beer, whatever it is. So,
it's crazy, man. It's half your salary going to a game.
yeah, that's right. So let's change gears a little bit. I think we kind of hit that, very hard. I want to talk to you about, and I guess I can say this because you actually played for the Redskins and not the team formerly known as. You had some really, really good years there, man. You got drafted by them. Is the rivalry from that end, when you're looking at the Cowboys with the Redskins, is it really as big as people really make it out to be?
Well, I think it used to be. I think the Redskins haven't been or the Washington football team haven't been what they used to be. When they won all the Super Bowls, the same way with the Cowboys, right? The Cowboys were really good for a long time, and then they both kind of fell off a little bit. The whole division kind of fell off. And then the Eagles and the Giants have won a few Super Bowls in there. But I think this next year will be the first year where every team looks like it has a chance to be pretty good. And I'm excited to watch them this year. But, I interviewed Emmitt Smith on my show, and we talked about RFK closing. And, George, I'm sure you've played there.
Yes.
And he said when RFK closed, and we were going to play at the new stadium, I made our bus driver drive past RFK so I could see it again. Because even as a visitor, RFK had such special moments. The bleachers would bounce, and you had all the dramatics of the Hogettes and the band and everything. And it was just such a special place to play. So I think there is something to the rivalry, and no matter how bad each team gets or how good they become, I think that it'll always be there.
Yep. So do you still work with them? Are you still affiliated with them? I say work with them. Is that your main tie?
No, I've been down to the park a few times, but I don't do a lot with them. A couple of my good friends still work with them. I mean, I think since Dan Snyder took it over, a lot of guys haven't been as close to the team as people would want it, right? Because like Darryl Green, I know he doesn't do as much as he wants to do. Ken Harvey, a good friend of mine, doesn't do as much as he wants to do. We're all part of it. They're trying. They ask us as alumni to come back, but there's just something missing there. It's not like when Jerry Jones asked you to come back and how you're treated as the Cowboys.
Yes, I agree. He does treat us very, very well, and I'm thankful for that as well. And I am thankful for the rivalry that we have, because there were some special games that I had playing up there with the Cowboys, 96 and 98. Having the opportunity to just be in it. People don't really understand what that's like, to play in rivalry games like that. We actually had Rocket Ishmael on here, and the big win that we had up there when we threw the long bomb.
Yeah, right. I remember that.
Yes. So you kind of alluded to it. You were talking about your podcast. I think that having Emmitt Smith, and why don't you talk to us a little bit about that? I know you can. People can look you up on huddleupwithgus.com. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Yeah, so a few years ago, a good friend of mine and I were big Pirates fans, and if you know anything, follow baseball at all, you know how hard that is. because the Pirates aren't very good. So we have not great sports radio in Pittsburgh. So we really had an issue with like listening to sports talk radio and what they were always their opinions and what they were talking about. So we said, we want to hear more stories. We want to, and I started this when there were only like 700,000 podcasts. Now there's over 2 million. And so we just started as saying, let's just ask people how they fell in love with sports and what their stories are. And so that's kind of where we started. So Huddle Up with Gus was just, we were trying to think of a name and come up with a design and a logo, just like you did with Teague Steak. And it just, it just kept going. Huddle Up with Gus has been awesome. I've been able to interview some incredible people. And for me, it's just about really talking to people, hearing their stories about how sports shaped their life. And I mean, I've talked every sport, every gender, every race, and we just have so much fun. And it just is an hour show, and we just really enjoy it. I enjoy hearing people's stories of how they fell in love with sports. And most people talk about when we were kids, how we just go in the backyard and how we would just get our buddies and we go play football. And a lot of us talk about how we learned to play sports without a coach, a parent, or a referee or anything, and you just figured it out.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Well, I appreciate that. And for those of y'all that are watching it on YouTube and Facebook, you can see what his website looked like. You guys should visit that, huddleupwithgus.com. And Gus, I have to tell you though, man, I kind of like you the best in that Vikings purple, man. I know that.
I liked it too. I was thrown to Randy Moss. That's why. You didn't like facing him.
No. He kind of just
that cat was good.
Yes, sir, he was. Man. So make sure you guys check him out and really give him a follow because I really like that about that. So, tell us about your story. Then did you play football growing up the whole time? Did you know were you aspiring to be a pro, or did it just kind of fall in your lap?
Well, it's a crazy story. I talked to a bunch of school kids today that are doing a summer program, and they wanted to talk about adversity. And I've had all kind of adversity in my life. In ninth grade, I didn't always play football. First time I ever played football, they asked me to play on the offensive line, and I got my butt whooped, and I hated it because I was tall and lanky and didn't really like it. But my dad was a mill guy, and he was like, get your butt back out there, you're playing. And so in ninth grade, I went back out, and I tackled somebody with my head down, and I crushed the fourth vertebrae in my neck. And I didn't play football for 2 years. And then I never played quarterback until I was a junior in high school. And when I became quarterback, we ran the wing T, so we never threw the ball anyway. And I threw it 45 times my whole high school career. My first game in college at Tulsa, I threw it 45 times. So that kind of tells you my progression in all of this. But it's been crazy. My high school team, we had 19 kids on it. We didn't have 19 athletes. We had 19 kids. And, I always tell kids all the time, if you're good, they'll find you. It doesn't matter, right? If you play hard, you work hard, somebody's going to find you. Somebody's going to see you. And George, we didn't have Huddle. We didn't have all the technology they had. I remember trying to make a VHS highlight tape of whatever I could from the wing T offense. Try to tell me how hard that would be to send it out to schools back in the day. And it was snail mail.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And that's how we got recruited. And it was you got a letter in the mail, that's how you corresponded with coaches. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a text or anything. So it was a crazy experience. And then I ended up going to Tulsa, have a fun career. And, I never even expected to be drafted. And I actually, my senior year, after my senior season, I came back to Pittsburgh and I interned with the Pittsburgh Pirates because I just came back home. I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to get drafted or anything. So I was actually back home. How a lot of guys have pro days, right, at their colleges. I was actually at Three River Stadium in Pittsburgh. And the teams, when they would want to work me out, would call the Pirates and want to talk to me because I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have anything like that. So the secretary of the Pittsburgh Pirates would give me a note and say, hey, Jerry Glanville called and he wants to come work you out on this date. I'd be like, okay. So I was using the Pirates facility, the Steelers facility, because they were all in one stadium. And those were my pro days. And then I got invited to the combine, was able to show people what I could do, and end up going in the 7th round to the Washington Redskins. And then the rest is kind of history. They take Heath Schuler in the 1st round. Heath was a big-time quarterback from Tennessee. I was a 7th rounder. And it's just funny how things work out, George. Heath basically wanted more money, so he held out of training camp, and I got every one of his reps over 3 weeks. So that kind of led to my whole career and people believing that I could play the game.
Man, see, I don't know how much you talk to high school kids, but I need to just replay this in our locker room or in a team meeting or something, because I just think kids are not being as patient anymore or understanding chance, luck, hard work. That it's the instant gratification that I got to play now. Not understanding that they're going to get over recruited in college or even in the league, sometimes.
You're right.
And so I always love to hear, stories like this where, you're playing on a small school at a small high school and just kind of made your way up there just through hard work and dedication. So, tip of my hat.
Yeah. It's not, any sport is not easy. And it's all about hard work. And I really believe that, because you could have all the talent in the world. George, you and I have seen many guys come through the NFL and they were just the best players in college, and they get to the NFL and they don't have what it takes, because they're missing something. They're missing a piece of that pie. Mm-hmm. And to play in the NFL, all those things have to work together. And I don't care what school you came from, you got to have every little bit of that pie or that cake, so that those coaches see that and you can go out on Sunday and perform. Because it's easy to do 7-on-7 and look good in practice and all that. But when you really have the pressure on you and you have to, when they tell you, look, you either got to roll down, we got to go to cover 3 here, or you got to play cover 2, or we're going to quarters. I know you guys were a big quarters team in Dallas. And, James Washington picked me off on a 6 route one time, which I'm still pissed about. And, there's just so much. But then you got Randy Moss on the outside and you're like, Coach, you want me to cover that from like the hash? Are you crazy? But there's just something that made you good. And that's just, there's a piece that some guys just miss. And I don't care what school you come from, the NFL will find you. They'll find if you're good at it or not.
Well, they found Van Der Esch off the
They found Jeff Heath.
Team. Look, I'm looking at your face. Y'all can't see JT's face if you're just listening to it on the podcast.
Yeah, look at JT.
We're talking about old Jeff Heath. Heath is on what team now?
He's unemployed right now.
Oh, my bad.
He was with the Raiders, and
was
he had a
with the
pick
Raiders.
6 last year, which is more pick 6s than he had at the Cowboys. I'm still upset about it. I think he picked off Tom Brady and ran it in for a touchdown, and I was all upset. I was, where was this? 6 years.
Man, oh well. You see what we do on this show, right? We jump around, we have fun, we have a good time.
Oh, yeah, you have to.
And like always, just like you will on Hold Up with Gus, we're going to talk about that a little bit more because I am going to be on his show in another week or two.
Yep.
I
think
forget what it
next
is.
week.
I think it's June 28th.
You might want to find out so that you don't miss.
Oh no, I got it
no,
on the
we won't
calendar.
let
I'll
him
make
miss.
sure. I'll make sure I pop it up here in a minute because it should be on my calendar somewhere. I'll look it up really quick. But hey, we're gonna take a real quick break, and then we'll be back with Gus, and we need to talk about the NCAA getting smacked down by the Supreme Court. Sit tight.
ProfoundSites.com for your personal and commercial needs. Websites built, repaired, secured, maintained, and found. Brent Thomas and ProfoundSites.com provide e-commerce development, website development, online marketing, web, mobile, and e-commerce consulting. With over 10 years experience, Profound Sites is responsible for creating GeorgeTeague.com, where you can hear Teague's Take with George Teague every week. Brent Thomas and Profound Sites can take you through the entire pain-free process of building your new website. From initial discussion to planning, design, to coding and making your site live and discoverable on the internet. Contact Brent Thomas at ProfoundSites.com or email him at brent@ProfoundSites.com.
All right. Welcome back, everybody. I did look up the confirmation on what it's going to be. It will be June 29th. I don't know if he drops those live or whatnot. We'll find out, but that's when I will be talking with Gus. And then whenever he downloads it or put it on, make sure you guys give him a follow on Twitter, Instagram, and go visit his website too, so that you can tune in to his show. He is going to hang out with us for another 30 minutes or thereabouts. But let's go ahead and toss this over to JT for Money Matters.
So the Supreme Court has made a decision and ruled unanimously 9-0 against the NCAA v. Sean Alston, which is I believe he was a running back at Pitt. This case was brought to court in 2014, and it has finally made its way up to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled on it. So those that are just kind of following the headlines have kind of mistakenly thought that this case is allowing schools to pay athletes. That's not at all what has happened with this case. But I will say, if you have not read the opinion from Justice Kavanaugh, and however you feel about Justice Kavanaugh is completely aside of this, but he wrote a 5-page opinion, a concurring opinion. Justice Gorsuch wrote 40 some odd pages on it, and it's incredibly boring. But Justice Kavanaugh really had something to say to the NCAA. And I'm going to read some of it just because he was able to convey, I think, what most fans have been feeling for a long time. So he starts off by saying the NCAA has long restricted the compensation and benefits that student athletes may receive, and with surprising success, the NCAA has long shielded its compensation rules from ordinary antitrust economy. So this. So he goes on to say, today, however, the court holds that the NCAA has violated antitrust laws, but this case involves only a narrow subset of the compensation laws, which include education-related benefits, which means, so for those that weren't aware, we had talked about it before, like student athletes could not have paid internships, and they can now, and they were capped at $5,000 worth of education-related benefits. So laptops, books, room and board was capped at $5,000. And that has been revoked, I guess, or overturned. But Justice Kavanaugh has put the NCAA on notice, saying that they are definitely on borrowed time. He said, those rules have historically restricted student athletes from receiving money from endorsement deals and the like. And I add to this concurring opinion to underscore that the NCAA's remaining compensation rules also raise serious questions under antitrust laws. And he said that basically the NCAA needs to have proof that it's not against the antitrust laws. And the way he sees it right now, they don't have the proof. And that it's a circular argument to say that they don't pay the players because the NCAA as a model doesn't pay players. He was like, you can't justify not paying the players by putting in the definition that you can pay the players. And he talks about like how any other business sector would, like, you can't do this. Movie theaters can't not pay the actors for showing movies and things like that. So I encourage you to read it. The way it comes off, it's very direct, and he basically is saying anybody that has a case to bring this to the Supreme Court about not getting paid and things like that, do it, because if it gets to the Supreme Court, we're going to overturn it. And so I want to get your thoughts on basically how much longer do you think that the NCAA can actually get away with this? So we already see like state laws. I think Alabama and Florida are actually going into effect July 1st.
Yeah.
That players can be compensated. And he actually touched on some of the issues, like how do you pay players? And he gave 4 or 5 paragraphs, like, oh, you could do this, you could do this, you could do this. Like, but he hand waved and he was like, I'm not the one that's got to figure it out. But basically, here are some ideas. You better figure it out before you get to court.
Man, this is very interesting. The first thing that hit me is really about I'm saying, what was the real term? I'm saying educational benefits, but
That's what they
every
put
time
in.
benefits
That's what
is
they
the
put in
word
there.
that seems like that's going to end up being broad to me.
Oh yeah, they're gonna try to widen it so they don't.
Because one of the kids going to need a car for the educational benefits so they can get across campus
Yeah,
a little bit quicker or easier, paying for parking decals and all this kind of stuff. I don't know. I get it. I mean, I'm for it, obviously. I believe that, there has to be some kind of way that we can compensate these players for that, especially talking about what we were talking about in the first part of the show, playing more games and doing things. We got to find a way to do this. So it's I guess I need to ask Gus too. If JT gave us an option to read two different articles here, one was 5 pages and one was 40 pages. Which one you going to read, Gus?
Oh, I'm going 5 pages.
oh yeah, and it's
And they're
a
probably gonna
quick
try and
5
listen to
pages
it.
too.
you gonna
Yeah.
read?
I'm trying to find it on Twitter that somebody already read so I can listen to it. I don't want to read it.
Well,
But,
I'm giving you the scoop. I'm giving you
I hear you.
the
I
cliff
hear you.
notes.
So JT laid it out for us really well. And I think that, I can remember at Tulsa in the off season, I didn't have any money. My parents didn't have any money. My dad sent me $50 a month. Right. And so I didn't qualify for Pell Grant. I didn't qualify for any of that. So I didn't have any money. I mean, I went to school for free. Yeah. Which was unbelievable. But other than that, I didn't have any money. And I wanted to work. I didn't have a problem working, but we weren't allowed.
That's right.
So if I could have had a night job or done something part-time or whatever, I mean, just to have a little change in my pocket to be able to go do things would have been great, but we weren't allowed. So now I think that when you see about the paid internships and all these things, companies and donors and people are going to say, there's going to be loopholes. There's going to be ways around it. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes next year.
Is this going to be a black eye on the NCAA when, something like this goes all the way up to Supreme Court and you got a judge, basically saying, hurry up and figure it out,
Yeah, and he said that it's surprising that they've been able to stave off so many lawsuits to date.
But is the NCAA shaking in their bones right now, or are they just sitting back in their desk going, so what? What are you going to make us do?
My guess is that they are shaking in their boots because they were the ones that appealed this to the Supreme Court. The lower courts were the one that had ruled that it was an antitrust law, and the NCAA was the one that was pushing it to get to the Supreme Court, obviously thinking that they were going to win.
Well, it will be interesting to watch. I mean, we're already watching the NILs and trying to figure out what that was going to look like. And you said those are starting up here pretty soon, right? For at least some of the states and schools.
9 days.
So I mean, that's going to have to go that's going to have to be a landfall, right? I mean, once this get going, everybody's going to have to get on board.
Yeah, well, the conferences need to figure out something for immediately, right? Because
So do these go hand in hand when we're talking about this with this lawsuit? I mean, are those going to have to merge somehow between naming rights, images, likeness, that type of stuff with this educational piece? Are these going to have to be pushed together somehow?
I don't think so. I mean, this is the Supreme Court saying that right now, you can't put a cap on books that they need to do work, and NIL is kind of completely not that.
You just got to figure out how to guide this stuff, man, because these bucks gonna be costing a lot. Kind of like going to a bowl game overseas as opposed to right down the road. Now your chemistry book gonna cost you $300.
Well, and the thing about it, George, it's just not football. I mean, we see it from that point of view, football, but it's every athlete, at a university or school. And so I think the NCAA is shaking in their boots because they realize what this is gonna
Cost
do to them.
I mean,
Yeah.
Could it hurt anybody? I mean, we always think of the big school, the Alabamas, Ohio States, the Penn States, but how does this hit, a smaller school whose budgets aren't the same and
Well-
or maybe don't even have a football program?
I would say in this particular to this case on the educational benefits, like if your school cannot handle that, that means either A, you were giving out too many scholarships to begin with. It means you got too many kids that you can't pay for and your endowment's not big enough. And B, like if your model, if you're running your school at a model in which you cannot, if you've given out a scholarship, it was predicated on that scholarship being less than what the student actually needs to be successful, then your model's broken.
Okay, I'm gonna hit you and Gus right in the chin. So y'all, what's this gonna do for HBCU? I know we're talking about this. We're already talking about their lack of money and dollars. And what is it? Is this a good thing for them? A bad thing?
Well,
Seriously.
I don't know. I think that the HBCUs are really kind of pushing forward more these days.
All right.
There's been some good and bad, but I think it's going to put them into conversation because I think that when players can go out and promote themselves, right, and get these a lot of HBCUs, some people, they don't get a full scholarship, and I never thought that was right. Like, you're either going to give me one or you're not. Like this whole half stuff. Like, I don't understand it. But I think that when players can go out and promote themselves, now they can go to an HBCU and promote themselves and get the benefits they need to be successful in life. And I don't know. I just don't think that it's going to hurt them at all.
That's good. One last question.
I don't think it will either. Just to add on to that, because like if you're a student if you're a student athlete that's like, I want to go somewhere where I'm gonna just make the most money, you're not at an HBCU today anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
But that landscape is changing, and that's why I really wanted to get at. Is this going to move over into the coaching side too? I'm watching Neon Primetime Dion and his stuff as a head coach, and he's marketing and he's doing things. Does this become a way for coaches to eventually start making their brand? All these strength coaches and everybody else, and
Do they not do that already?
row the boat guy and all this kind of stuff. Yeah, but the school's going to have to start compensating you extra for your brand.
Are they
Only
not
if you
doing
go to
that already?
Alabama.
Huh?
Only if you go to Alabama.
Whatever. Oh, man. Anyway.
Well, so I mean, the NCAA.
Tulsa, they don't pay you any extra money.
Yes, they do. They got you out of Pittsburgh.
Yeah, they didn't pay anity any extra money for that. My parents just kicked me out.
That's all right. That's all right.
I think with these rulings, the NCAA's mindset has shifted from we don't want student athletes to get preferential treatment to we need to make sure that student athletes are treated the same as regular athletes or equal to regular students.
Yeah, I would agree with that. That's
Yeah.
a very good assessment. Okay, great segment there, sir. Appreciate it. So I just want to remind everybody real fast, make sure you go visit georgeteague.com to get you some memorabilia, to make sure you have all the updates and things that you need to know about our podcast. As you can see, Profound Sites is the one who built our site. We're very thankful for him as well for doing that. And oftentimes, a lot of you do reach out to us and ask us, "Hi, man, how do I get some of that stuff? What do I do?" You can contact us straight through there. Just hit that contact button. If you've got questions, hit Ask Teague, and those will come directly to us, and we can get your questions answered. And that has been picking up a lot. So thank you guys for the communication there. Just want to remind you guys real quick, while you're looking at Huddle Up with Gus, make sure you go over to georgeteague.com as well. Now, it is the time for the final play. First gay NFL player, Carl Nassib. Is that how you say his last name?
I think it's just Nassib. But I don't know.
Nassib. You know, this is a very heartwarming time for me. You know, as soon as it came out with this, I was immediately getting the inbox stuff on the, hey, man, what do I think about this? And I have to tell you, I think this is a good thing. Our world is so much caught up into negative stuff and not embracing diversity, and not giving people a chance. That when you have a guy like this who's worked his butt off, he found a way to get drafted in the third round by the Cleveland Browns. He's making some pretty good money now. I think he signed a 3-year deal for $25 million with the Raiders. And for him to have the support and the people to get around him and say, hey, you know, speak out, tell everybody who you are. I commend him for that. I commend people for that. You know, as I'm working in a private school right now, there's a lot of things that we have to deal with, right? Racial tensions, gender things, religious issues. I think it's terrible, man, that we're still having to fight over this stuff and really worry about what people are saying. It shouldn't be to where that has to be a coming out party. We should be accepting these things because there are a lot of different people in the world. I'm fortunate and I'm blessed to have been raised the way that I was. We didn't see color. That's not how I raised my kids, hopefully, right? And that's just not something that we believe in to judge people based upon skin, color, gender, religious beliefs. If you treat people right and our morals stand strong, that's what it's all about, man. Just making sure that we treat people fairly in everything. So everything doesn't have to be political all the time. You know, we get tired of that because we're all human. Sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes, you know, we don't get it right. I got it. But the one thing that we can always do is show empathy, sympathy, and be able to care for people no matter who they are and how they are and what they're doing. So that's kind of my take on it. JT, Gus, y'all want to give a last word on this?
Well, JT, I'll let you go last, but I think it's a great thing. I think it was a tough thing to do, but I think you're right, George, that he had a lot of love and support from that locker room. I think you played on 3 teams. Is that correct?
Yes,
I played
sir.
on 7. So when you go into a new locker room, it doesn't matter who you are, what you are. It's difficult to get to know people because we all come from different backgrounds. And I had a kid ask me today, how did you get along with somebody in the locker room when you didn't necessarily agree with them or like them? And I said, maybe I didn't leave that place and hang out with them, but when I was in that workplace or when I was in that locker room, I had to trust them and I had to be with them and I had to, we were teammates and we were all fighting for the same thing. So usually what I did was go up to them and find a commonality, something that, we agreed on or had fun or laughed about. And I always thought laughter was the best medicine for everything. And if I could go in the locker room and sit with somebody and we could joke or have a good time, or, maybe it was something about our dads or brothers or whatever it was. But when that locker room, you can create a bond like no other. And I think that he felt that. And he felt safe to come out, which I think is great. And we've seen the whole NFL, a lot of teams. I mean, I even saw Bo Jackson tweeted out today. So, it's a great thing. And like you said, that kid, he was a walk-on at Penn State, never played till his 5th year, and then he got drafted by the Browns. So this kid worked his tail off, and it doesn't matter. And he's going to pave the way for a lot of people out there that want to do what he does and what we did, but that are, like him, that have those kind of things. So I think it's great.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think he'll be an inspiration to people going forward. The outpouring of support has been good to see. Hopefully we get to a place in this world, and it won't be tomorrow or next week or anything like that, where this doesn't necessarily have to be big news, but like you both said, I'm glad that he was able to be true to himself and really feel comfortable sharing it. I mean, he's clearly never really told anybody, at least at a public scale like this, for I don't know how long he's been playing now, but
Well, he said he was holding it in for, 15 years. I think I read that somewhere that he was holding it back for about 15 years now. So, I'm saying that I'm wishing him well. I'm glad that he's joined himself to a cause too, to try to help others who are maybe struggle with that. That may look to harm themselves because they're worried about it, and hopefully, he can be an inspiration to people like that. Yeah, I mean, Gus said, we played on teams, and I remember playing with the Dallas Cowboys, and I don't know everybody's sexual orientation, and it didn't matter to me, right? But we were diverse in that. I mean, we had that win, an Asian guy on the team. We had the darkest of the darkest and the black of the blackest,
You don't talk about Nate like that.
yeah, guys on the team. We had white people from all over the place. We had diverse coaching staffs, and it wasn't it's what Guest was talking about. You went in there, and we all had one common goal anyway. That was to win. Now I know we're talking about winning games, but I think it should be more about winning in life. And that's what happens in our locker rooms. And that's why I love the game of football and sports so much, because we can do things like that. And it doesn't really care, man. People drove up in old pickup trucks or fancy Maseratis or, Rolls Royces or whatever. It didn't matter. We didn't think about it. We just wanted to go play and bond and protect each other and hit for each other and ride with each other. Didn't matter if we were going to eat wings, playing dominoes, playing spades, whatever it was. It didn't matter who it was, because we're all jumping in the hot tub. We're all going to shower. We're all doing the stuff together, man. And I don't know why our world can't get it like that too. That long as we win each other's hearts, trust each other, and make this world a better place, man. It's time. It's time. We need to stop with all the other stuff. Quit being racist. Don't judge people, and let's move forward. So with that, I'm going to end this show. I want to say thank you to Gus. Gus, we will definitely be in touch with you. Thank you very much. I look forward to being on Huddle Up with Gus here in the very near future. I don't know if he's going to ask me to tell my story or whatever it is, but I guess I better get it together.
Yeah, we're going to hear that story, George, and JT. I appreciate you guys having me on the show. Thank you so much, and everybody can check me out. You go on any social media at Huddle Up with Gus, and you can follow me at Gus Frerotte. And then my show is you can find it on wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Just easy, Huddle Up with Gus, and I appreciate you guys having me on. Great conversation, and I wish you guys all the best.
Hey, Gus, you had a touchdown throw for 99 yards in 2008. You just broke your record because you went for 100 yards tonight, baby. It was awesome.
Yeah, it's the only place you can do that. I can't do that on the NFL. You all right over there, JT?
I know what's going on
No,
over there, man. He done broke the chair.
What you doing over there? You just shrunk.
He got he has a 8-month-old daughter.
She's almost 10 months.
Oh, 10. Sorry, I keep messing it up.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I'll get it right sooner or later. I have to keep looking at Instagram when they put the little circle around the 8 and the 9.
Yeah, that's Emily's thing.
10, so I can do that. But I think he wanted to get down on her level a little, a little bit. So, man, we really do appreciate it very much. And I'm looking forward to, talking to you here pretty soon. So you guys make sure that you guys pay attention to what's going on with Teague's Take. We'll be back in 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Next show, July the 6th. New season starts, right? We're going to call it season 2. This has kind of been season 1. I'm going to start season 2, and we'll do something different. So make sure you're paying attention to what's going on. Follow us on our social media pages, both me and JT. Thank you, guys. Thank you again, Gus. Thank you, JT. Thank you for everyone tuning in and listening. Don't forget to download and subscribe. Deuces. Not bad, JT.
Yeah, I don't even know if that was the right camera.
Nah, well, I always go for the middle one.
I did. I hit the top of the middle one.
Well, maybe if you let your seat back down, you might have hit it. Peace out. Subscribe to our feed at Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening now. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube at Teague's Take Podcast. Remember to hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the stream. Stay engaged by following us on Instagram and Twitter at Teague's Take, where you can keep up to date with news postings and other live content.